to you. Well, Xin chào everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for being with us today. Today's workshop is part of our ongoing Addressing Women's Underrepresentation in Leadership project, kindly funded by the British Council. And today we're going to be thinking about career development. I'm absolutely thrilled to have two facilitators joining me for the session today. Our expert here from the UK, our Associate Director and Head of Career Development from here at the University of Hertfordshire, Anna Levitt. Anna's a Senior Fellow, and her role here at the university is to lead the work that ensures the success of our graduates after they've finished their qualifications with us at the university. She does exceptionally well at this. I think it's very hard to sometimes translate this in an international setting, but I think it's really important to understand that our government here in the UK set expectations and benchmarks for what students should be doing in terms of their future after university. And Anna, I'm really pleased to say, oversees the work at the university. We far exceed our benchmarks that we're expected to meet from the government, and consequently that contributes to the high quality education that goes on here at the university and the performance of the university in things like league tables and rankings, which I know are of interest and importance to colleagues in Vietnam as well. So Anna, you're very welcome to be with us. Thank you very much. I'm also thrilled that Dr. Lee Trang can join us from your travels over in Hong Kong. I don't know if you can be with us for all of the session.
Sure. Yeah, I just complete the conference here. The full 4-day conference just completed, and now I'm sitting at the lobby of the convention. Yeah,
brilliant.
So it's okay. It's okay.
Oh, fantastic. We're so thrilled. I think one of the lasting memories that we have from our visit to Vietnam was talking with you about your own career and professional development. And we obviously at the moment holding the only female seat of Vice President at HUTECH University, previously from Ho Chi Minh City, University of Economics and Finance, and worked in international education for a long time. So we're absolutely thrilled that you're going to share a little bit about your career journey with the delegates today, because we think that will be a really valuable story for them. So just before we get started, we appreciate that you're all just back from the Tet holiday. We hope that you enjoyed it very much. Happy New Year. Wishing you health, happiness and success for you and your families. And as is the way when we're learning about other cultures and customs, I was looking up thinking, what is an appropriate way to wish you? Now, we have a lot of teachers on this call, so I thought a really appropriate New Year wish for you is that you always be the teacher that inspires your students, that you be the colleague that your team values, and the leader that you hope to become. And I think those are good New Year wishes for you all, and hopefully related to the project. Anna is going to lead us through the first part of the session, talking about LinkedIn and its use in the global space and lots of different ways in which you can use it. I know we've talked a little bit about it as a platform on the leadership program so far, but Anna's got some really interesting and different dimensions to talk to us about it. We were also asked to think a little bit and tell you a little bit about how artificial intelligence is transforming recruitment practices here in the UK. And it might be interesting for you to reflect on how that contrasts with your experiences in Vietnam and beyond. And we know that some people are interested in working outside of Vietnam at the moment, and perhaps outside of your region. So we wanted to share a little bit about what academic career pathways are like here in the UK and perhaps internationally. And importantly, to give some good space at the end of the session for trying to share her career journey with us. What an inspiring way to finish, I think will be absolutely brilliant. So I'm going to hand over to Anna to ask us just to move on a couple of slides. Thanks, Anna. You're driving, I think, in this space. There we go. So Yeah, so just to say, we are at our penultimate workshop in the programme. We have one more left next month, and colleagues from HUTECH no doubt will be sending out some information about that. That's in exactly a month's time, where myself and Helen will be running a session on evaluating your learning, whether that's from the workshops, from your own consideration, or from engaging in the MOOC. It's been a really busy year, so we're hoping that there's been lots to share and talk about. But I think after that, Anna, we're going to be over to you, and you're going to start with us about LinkedIn, aren't you?
Thank you, Sarah. And thank you everyone for the warm welcome. Good morning to you all. It's an honour for me to be part of these sessions. I've heard a lot about them from colleagues Sarah and Helen in particular, and I'm very happy to be here with you all today and to get this chance to share some different perspectives. So I'm going to ask Sarah to help me keep an eye on the chat. Everybody's very welcome. If you have something you'd like to ask or contribute to the conversation, please do feel free to write comments in the chat or raise your hand if you would like to contribute something as we're going along. And I'm sure Sarah will help me keep an eye on those things. So just to introduce a little bit about myself, and thank you, Sarah, for starting that off. I can't quite believe I've been at the University of Hertfordshire for nearly 10 years. It doesn't seem like that long since I first joined. But in the spirit of talking about LinkedIn today, I thought I would just use some screenshots from my own LinkedIn profile to explain a little bit about who I am and my role at the university. So I have been there for nearly 10 years in various different roles. And we describe some of the career services and other central support services at the university as professional services. So we have a different type of contract to academic or teaching staff. But actually, my role does overlap into lots of different areas. So I am a teacher. I spent many years lecturing. I do some teaching still, but also I'm involved in some research as well as what we would describe in the UK as professional type work to do with supporting our students and our graduates into careers. So it's a really interesting role that overlaps lots of different areas. And hopefully some of my experiences of using LinkedIn and also teaching our students and our graduates how they could use LinkedIn to help their career development might be useful to you all today as well. And of course, my first top tip is to connect with people on LinkedIn when you meet each other at conferences, at events such as this one. So I've shared my personal LinkedIn link on the slides, which will be shared with you all. And I'd be honoured to link with any of you if you'd like to make that connection. I'd be very happy to hear from you. Okay. So I'm sure most, if not all of you, will have heard of LinkedIn, but it is the largest professional networking platform in the world. There are over 1 billion members that are on the platform. And I think really it is quite unique in this space in terms of having a way for professional social networking across the globe. So certainly there are members from more than 200 countries and territories. And it is designed to be this kind of professional type environment, perhaps more so than other more social and informal platforms and networks that are available online. But for those of you that don't use LinkedIn that much, I would say that it's much more than a platform available for networking. There is a lot more that you can get to support career development from LinkedIn, other than purely making connections with other people. So certainly I use LinkedIn to keep an awareness of what's going on in my sector, in the sector globally. It helps with my commercial awareness. And there's a lot of information that I find helpful for my own professional development as well. So yes, it's helpful to make connections with people. It's useful if you are looking for work. And certainly it can help you be discovered for job opportunities as well. But there's much more to it that we'll start to talk about today. So I just wanted to set the scene a little bit as well, and why LinkedIn could be useful more than ever. So I think we probably all see that there is an increasing amount of international collaboration across lots of different sectors, lots of different types of work, which I think is excellent. Our work together today is a really great example of that. And also, particularly in research, there's great competition for things like funding, promotional opportunities. And so being able to collaborate with colleagues internationally can really help to strengthen bids for funding, and it perhaps shows in your career development if you've got connections beyond your own country. That might be something that's taken into account for promotional opportunities. I think there still is quite a big emphasis on qualifications across the globe. And of course, we're working in a time of great digital transformation. So we're going to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence today and how it's impacting on recruitment in the UK in particular. But also hybrid working is a big topic of conversation, certainly in the UK. I understand in Vietnam as well. And, for a lot of people, balancing career, family responsibilities, hybrid working can really help with that, but also it's just another element for us to consider. And certainly for myself, I have 4 children. I have parents and parents-in-law that have care needs. Juggling work and career with family responsibilities is something that I'm working with all of the time and trying to manage, and I'm sure that is the same for many of you as well. So LinkedIn can help really if we see it as a global CV. It is a chance through your LinkedIn profile to share experiences, qualifications, research interests that you have. You can control what is available for people to see on LinkedIn, but it is a chance to show the qualifications and experiences that you have. I think for academic careers in particular, they often operate within quite formal structures. So promotion criteria can be quite explicit, certainly within the UK. And I know Professor Sarah is going to share more about this later in the session. But informal reputation can also matter in recruitment. Certainly that's something we see quite a lot of in the UK, that employers will use LinkedIn to search for potential employees, whether it's to find people to invite them to apply for jobs, or whether it's people that have applied for a job and they want to see a little bit more about how they are present on LinkedIn. So, but visibility on LinkedIn can also support the goals of your institution, of your universities. It isn't all about you as an individual. It can really be used to highlight all the great things your team or your university are doing and working towards. We can see a screenshot on the right-hand side of the screen here, just shows you how many different options are available in LinkedIn, and also gives you an idea about how other people might use it in their work. So certainly it's used a lot for searching for people to apply for different opportunities, and for advertising jobs. I don't know how common that is in Vietnam, but it's a really common place now in the UK and some other countries to look for work through LinkedIn. So some examples of how LinkedIn is used within a UK academic context. So a lot of academics might use LinkedIn to identify people to collaborate with, whether it's on bids for funding, research projects, conferences, etc. We've said that recruiters or employers might search for people that if they need certain expertise. Perhaps if someone was organising a conference, and they are looking to identify someone to speak at that conference, they can use the search function to see and to find people who are interested in or are experts in different areas that their conference is based around. So certainly I've had people contact me through LinkedIn. They're looking for people to speak to at conferences to do with careers or career development, and they contact me through LinkedIn to see if that's something I'd be interested in doing. And like I mentioned before, promotion panels, employers can review public profiles on LinkedIn to see what you've been doing, what experiences you've had, what projects and things that you've been involved in. So there's a lot of information available in LinkedIn and on the internet generally about how employers use LinkedIn, and to help you understand how the algorithms of LinkedIn operate. So if you just search that within LinkedIn, which I did yesterday, how do employers use LinkedIn? You can see on the screen there some examples of information that will tell you a bit more about how it operates. It's too much detail to go into today, but do have a look. It's useful to understand how it operates so that you can optimize how you use LinkedIn to achieve what you want from it. So I just wanted to share some examples of what a strong academic profile can communicate. I've actually taken some examples here from Professor Helen Barefoot's LinkedIn profile. She didn't know I was going to do this, so I hope she's okay with it. But there's some really great examples on her LinkedIn of how she's sharing her expertise. So there's lots of different sections that can be created in LinkedIn for you to showcase projects that you will have worked on. So Professor Helen has shared some projects that she's been involved with. So we get a really clear sense of what her areas of interests are and what her expertise is. It can also highlight what her contribution has been within the university, her impact on students, and within the wider community, or perhaps different policies. So there's also a section I've shown there as an example where you can share publications or research reports that have been published. And again, it will give really quickly a clear sense of what that person's expertise and interests are. Another good example to share could be engagement in conferences, could be workshops, panels, etc. And it was nice to see that Professor Helen had shared some of the work of this group on her LinkedIn profile. You can see in the image on the slide there. And if you are looking for perhaps leadership or promotional opportunities, again, it's a good way of showing expertise that you might have in mentoring, chairing committees or other initiatives. So I'm going to share some other examples of how LinkedIn can be used. People use LinkedIn in lots of different ways, and I think it's really important to recognize that you can share in a way that you are comfortable with, and there are lots of different ways of doing that. So I'm going to share some examples, and perhaps you can have a think about what you would be comfortable with sharing in terms of on your own LinkedIn profile. So I've taken an example here from one of my colleagues in my team. This is from Hai. In his profile, he actually uses LinkedIn in lots of different ways beyond the strictly work-based or professional environment. So I think this is a really good example of something that's quite quick and light touch to create. It's not directly linked to his job, but it's a nice celebration that he wanted to share with people. He was taking some time off to celebrate the new year, and this was a post that he shared on LinkedIn just to share his celebration and his joy in. And it can help create a sense of community, I think, with other people in your LinkedIn connections who are also celebrating something similar. So again, this is more towards the personal side of sharing in LinkedIn, but it's also a quick and easy way of creating some content and sharing your personal interests within the community online. The next example, I would say, is the other end of the scale. It's a much more high input, high output type of post creation. So Dr. Miri is what I would describe as an influencer within the sector. She creates a lot of content. I think she probably spends quite a bit of time creating content on LinkedIn. And she has a large following of people because of the efforts that she puts in. So this isn't for everybody, because you might not want to spend this much time creating content in LinkedIn, but I think it's a good example of what can be done. And also it's an example of someone that you could follow. You could subscribe to a newsletter and read through and get some ideas. And I do subscribe to this newsletter because a lot of the content is relevant to the sector I'm working in. I don't always agree with things that Dr. Miri writes about, but it helps me keep up to date with topics in the sector, debates, and also it gives me a good idea of what other people's views are, which I think is always important to understand different perspectives on a topic. So a newsletter is one example of how you could create content, but certainly Dr. Miri, I would say one of her aims is to try and really increase her reach to engage with a lot of people. That's an important part of her work. And she's been successful in that. She won quite a few awards in terms of her influence and her reach in the last 6 months or so. So there's a kind of an example of someone who's very proactive and actively working on LinkedIn. These are actually some examples from my own LinkedIn feed. So I don't spend as much time as the previous example on LinkedIn, but in the UK, using LinkedIn is quite a common way of connecting with employers and a wider network that's important to the work that I do at the university. So connecting with employers so that they bring their job opportunities to our students and our graduates is important. So I use LinkedIn in a variety of ways, but some quick examples that I can do for 5 minutes at the end of my working day would be this first example on the left. A contact has a job that they are looking to recruit someone for, and I've reposted or shared this job opportunity because it's relevant to what I do. So it keeps with the professional theme. I have a lot of students and graduates from the university that connect with me because they're hoping I can help them to find work. I do accept those students into my community, and then I share jobs. And hopefully the students and the graduates have the chance to see those job opportunities through that network, and it might encourage them to apply. And in return, the contact here, Matt Raynor, who is advertising the job, I'm supporting him as a contact because he's trying to share this job to a wide range of people. And by sharing, I'm also helping my contact. So it helps to keep a good, positive connection between me and Matt. Another example of how I'm comfortable sharing content on LinkedIn, I don't always feel comfortable sharing something that's very personal about me or my career development. So it's quite common in the UK if someone is promoted for them to share that on LinkedIn, and that's celebrated. That's normal practice in the UK. But everyone feels differently. That's not something that I would do. So I tend to share through LinkedIn by congratulating other people. I feel more comfortable by saying thank you to my colleagues or great work if someone in my team has done something. So it's a different way of contributing and staying engaged on LinkedIn that I feel comfortable with. And, you know, that's what I'd really encourage everyone to think about. Share what you're comfortable sharing. I'm going to look at lots of examples today. They won't all be right for you, but there are lots of ways that you can consider using LinkedIn. So on the right-hand side of the screen, my colleague, Deborah Evans, this week ran a networking event for students and employers who came onto our campus in Hertfordshire. And she's creating content that's saying thank you to all the employers that came to see us, which is an important thing to do. It's recognising their work. And it was easy for me to just join that conversation and say, great event, well done, Deborah. Thank you to all our employer partners. And again, it means that I'm still creating content. You can see in the middle of the screen that I commented on another event that a colleague in my team had run last week. And even just by me saying, great work, well done, I had 296 impressions, which I think just means, that's how many people saw my comment in the network. It took me 30 seconds probably to write that comment. It was a nice way for me to say thank you to someone in my team and to our employers who came on campus. And I still reached nearly 300 people who got to see the great work that the team were doing. So quick and easy ways to engage. Professor Sarah, again, I've stolen some of your examples here from your LinkedIn profile. So Sarah has shared a really nice example of some project work here. So again, it's linked to the work of this group today. And it's done in a way that helps to raise the profile of our university. It helps to raise the profile of all the universities within this community as part of the project we're working on today. And she's also used it as a really great way of saying thank you to the people that funded this project, that made sure we were able to all engage as a community. So it's not about Sarah personally, it's about creating a way of raising the profile of all the partners in the project. But of course, it also then shares something about Sarah. It shows that she's been engaged in this great project. So it's a chance for people to see what some of her interests are. Again, on the right-hand side of the page, Sarah has reposted a job opportunity that my colleague, Russell George, has posted on LinkedIn. So this is a job that was available within my team at the university. Russell is part of my team, and he shared it on LinkedIn because we want to try and reach as many people as we can that are best qualified to come and work in our team. And Sarah is supporting Russell and therefore supporting me by sharing this job. So Sarah is very well connected in the careers space in the UK. So a lot of her connections might be very suitable for this job. So by Sarah quickly sharing or liking this post, I'm very happy because it means that our job is out there in the community. She's helped Russell to share, and it probably took her about 3 seconds to do. So it's very quick and easy. Final example to share here. This is, again, is my colleague, Minh. She works within the team. She works a lot with employers. But Minh uses LinkedIn in a different way. So she hasn't created any of her own posts at all. She hasn't created any new content, but she is still using LinkedIn every day to make sure she knows what's going on within the community. And so employers can find her as well on LinkedIn. And all Minh has done is liked lots of different posts, which again is like a thumbs up. You just click a thumb, you're giving it a like. It's very quick and easy. She hasn't created anything that she's uncomfortable with. She hasn't taken a lot of time, but she's still very active on the platform. And I think this is a really easy way into using LinkedIn. If you're not using it already very much, it's a very quick and easy way to access a LinkedIn community. So I'll say again, really do what you feel comfortable with. And this may change over time as you build your network or you become more familiar with LinkedIn. When I first came to the University of Hertfordshire, I didn't use LinkedIn a lot. I did have a profile, I had some people that were following me or connected with me, but not very many. And I wasn't very sure about using LinkedIn. I felt uncomfortable posting about myself, and it took me a while to get into it. But it is used a lot within a university environment in the UK. It is used a lot for employers, and it has changed over the last 10 years quite a lot as well. And the more that I've been involved in using LinkedIn, the more comfortable I have been with sharing and making connections. And my network, my community within LinkedIn since I joined the university has grown a huge amount. So on the screen are just some examples of different ways that you can engage with LinkedIn, even if you don't want to post or create any content of your own. So there are lots of groups available that you can easily join. You can also follow different organizations. So it might be the university that you work for, or another university that you're interested in, or perhaps an organization that's linked to your research or the sector that you teach about. You can engage with other people's content. So I've shown some examples where you can just comment on other things that people have posted. All of these things will help build your contacts. So even if you don't create new content every time, you will probably find that people just reach out to you anyway and help to build your network. So it helps just by reposting. It helps to spread lots of different content over time, but do think carefully about what you're comfortable to share. There are privacy settings within LinkedIn, like there are all social media, so you can control to a certain degree who sees your posts, who can ask to connect with you, and you've got some control over that. But as you build your network, if you share something, chances are it may be shared again, which can be a good thing because it gets your profile out there, or the work that you're doing and the work of your university can be shared more widely. But do make sure it's something that you're happy and comfortable to be out there in the public domain. So I'm just going to expand a little bit about this example of joining groups. So join relevant groups. There are a lot of groups available on LinkedIn, and it can be quite overwhelming. So be really selective and think about what groups you're interested in, which discussions are of interest to you. It's probably going to be related to your industry or sector, teaching, research, or professional development opportunities that you're interested in the future. So think strategically about what you want to get out of using LinkedIn, and then join groups that are appropriate for you. So we have an example of UK Vietnam Women in Academic Leadership group. I'm sure I'd encourage all of you to join that if you haven't already. But you will find that one group will lead to lots of other opportunities for engagement. You will find other groups by joining one larger group, and you can leave groups, you can join new groups, but be strategic. Think about what you want to gain from this engagement, and be picky about what you want to join. I mentioned that you can follow companies and organizations. These could be professional bodies, it could be employers, universities. You might be interested in thinking about organizations within Vietnam or more internationally. Sarah's going to talk about some different academic promotional pathways. If there were a particular university that you were interested in applying to jobs in, then you might follow that university so that you can understand their values, how they communicate, what they talk about. So again, think strategically about who you follow. But what that means is if you follow an organization, the content that they're posting will start to appear on your LinkedIn feed. So when you go onto LinkedIn, you'll see posts from these organizations, and that will keep you up to date with what they're doing. So we talked about some of these, but I just wanted to include in a slide so you can refer back to it afterwards, practical steps that you can take to be more engaged on LinkedIn. So we'll talk a bit more about different ways of posting content. But if you don't want to jump straight into that, or you're not comfortable to do that, then have a think about these other options that are available. You know, you can easily comment and join different discussions. You could just read about different discussions and not comment, but it's a good way of keeping up to date with your own professional development, awareness of what's going on in the sector. It's a great way to ask questions, to celebrate the achievements of other people, and to share the research that you're involved in. So lots of different ways that you can use LinkedIn. I find that regularly going into LinkedIn and just doing something quick, something short, and making it part of your routine can be quite helpful. So rather than not doing anything on LinkedIn for 4 months and then suddenly going in and creating a lot of content, might seem a bit strange. Whereas if you just have LinkedIn 5 minutes once a week or at the end of your working day, and it becomes part of your routine just to check in, see what's going on, like a few posts, it just becomes very quick and easy, and you get a sense of what's useful to you in your own career development. So it doesn't need to take up a lot of time. Now, if you are interested in creating and posting your own content, there are lots of different ways to do this. Some of the examples are on the screen. And I would say that LinkedIn actually makes it quite easy to create lots of different types of content. And we'll look at some examples of that. But when you go in and select that you want to add a video or create an article, it's usually very step by step. It takes you through what to do. There's a template. It's much easier than I thought it would be. So you can have a look and see what you feel comfortable with sharing. But certainly some of these types of content, I would never share. Some different ones I would. It's very personal choice. And you need to decide for yourself what you'd be happy to do. I'm going to just share some examples just to bring that to life a little bit. So I said earlier that in the UK anyway, it is quite usual for people to share on LinkedIn if they've had a promotion or if they've started a new job at a different organisation. This is my colleague Ilham, who worked in our team, and then she had fantastic opportunity, recruited as a PhD researcher at the university. And she shared this on LinkedIn, and everyone has congratulated her. It means that people in the community know she isn't working in careers and employment now, that she's doing something else. And it's a great way for her to highlight the research that she's doing. Now, if you update with a new job on LinkedIn, it can automatically share that in your feed so that people automatically see, for example, here that Ilham has started a new role. But you can also use the privacy settings so that you can add a new job without it being shared to everybody in your connections. So think about what you're comfortable with and do what feels right for you. We looked earlier at an example of a newsletter that Dr. Miri had created. Again, it is quite easy to create something like a newsletter within LinkedIn. They will offer you a template that you can work through. But actually, I just wanted to come back to this example of a newsletter that our alumni team have created within LinkedIn. If you are more comfortable sharing on LinkedIn on behalf of a team or on behalf of your institution or on behalf of a project that you're working on, then you can create a profile that is about that project rather than about you personally. So rather than you personally looking like you're sharing and creating a newsletter, you might create a profile that's research project, whatever, and then you share as part of that profile. So it's less about you as a person and it's more about profiling the team that you're working with and the work that you're doing. So sharing a newsletter in this way can be quite a good way of just sharing updates about your research project or a teaching initiative, whatever you're working on, and profiling that work of your team. So this is another example of a group of people that have come together to create content in that way. So we have a creative industries task group as an example on the slide here. This is a group of colleagues that work within the sector that I work in. So it might be 10 different people from different universities. Instead of them just posting content as individual people, they've created this group on LinkedIn, and they have followers and they create content as part of this group. So it very clearly shows to us what this group is representing, the creative industries. And here's an example of where they've created a poll. So it's a really quick and easy way of trying to get engagement on LinkedIn by asking a question, asking people to vote. It's a quick way of getting views. I've seen people use this in research, actually, as a way of either testing questions as part of a research project or to get input for different research projects. But really, really quick and easy to set up on LinkedIn, and a good way for people to kind of engage with your content and perhaps to gain some more followers for a particular project. So I've shared quite a lot of examples there. So I just wanted to pause to give you all a chance to individually just think about some of the content that I've shared today, and to consider, how comfortable do you feel making your work visible on LinkedIn? How could you ensure that the visibility on LinkedIn supports your institution or wider university aims? And, what feels appropriate for you in your context? So I'm going to pause for a couple of minutes. You are very welcome to raise your hand if you would like to discuss this with us, and also very welcome to write comments in the chat. And if you would prefer to just reflect on your own, please do. So Sarah, I'll ask if there's anything that's come up in the chat, because I don't have that open for you to support with that, please.
Of course, Anna, I will keep an eye on it. I think Helen has posted about how nice it is for you to share those examples, but also it feels like she's taking away your strong guidance to make sure that there's a bit of regular updating. And that I really love that quick tip about a really small amount of regular time to engage, just to make it a habit, something that is part of our day or our week, so that it's not something that is left behind or neglected. There aren't any specific questions or comments in there, but we are happy if anybody does want to ask anything. We are going to, I think, reflect on some of the work of the project in a bit more depth in the project group that we have in LinkedIn. And whilst Anna is working on her next section in the presentation, I will make sure that we have got some comments into the chat so that people do have the direct links to connect with us as individuals, but also to the group as well. And also some really interesting reflections there, Anna, about sharing your work achievements. And sometimes even when you don't do it yourself, your colleagues will raise something about it, or your university will post something about it. I know certainly it was a big surprise to me. I opened my LinkedIn notifications. I was like, what's going on here? But we'd had a ceremony at the university when I was awarded my professorship, and I'd done a little bit of talking to camera to someone from marketing without paying a lot of attention to what they were doing, and it appeared on the university's LinkedIn page. And then obviously because my name was in it, there were lots of people commenting, and I didn't realize what had happened. And it's not something I would have done myself at all, because it makes me cringe, but it was so lovely to read it. So it did make me feel more encouraged about the idea of celebrating people's success. Yeah, thank you for all those tips. I think they're really helpful. We haven't got any specific questions, Anna, so I suggest we continue.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks for those reflections as well, Sarah. Okay, so I've got a few more slides before I hand over to Sarah, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about how artificial intelligence is really transforming recruitment practices in the UK and no doubt in other countries as well. But you can imagine in the job that I'm in, supporting employers and students and graduates to find jobs, that this is a really hot topic in my world because it's making such a huge difference at the moment. So I'm going to start with some employer perspectives. And these are employers that are predominantly based in the UK that we're working with as a university. And there are a lot of concerns at the moment because we're seeing a huge amount of job applications that are generated by artificial intelligence. So quite a lot of the answers to questions that might be asked in a UK type application form are very obviously generated by AI. There could also be a personal statement, which again is a common part of recruitment in the UK, where a candidate is asked to tell the employer why they would be a good person for the job. Those are often generated by AI. And it's a concern for employers for lots of different reasons. Firstly, a lot of the applications start to look very similar. So although the wording will be slightly different when it's generated by artificial intelligence, actually it just reads very, it's very similar. The style of writing, the language that is used, the content, it's very hard to tell what is true and what has just been made up by artificial intelligence as well. And also the answers can make big claims. They can be quite overstated about how amazing the candidate is, but the answers can be quite shallow and lacking in depth. So it doesn't really tell you very much when you start to look at the detail. Employers are also telling us that there's a real lack of critical reflection in the applications. So because that's something that perhaps AI isn't particularly great at yet, it's all very much telling the employer how brilliant that person is. There's no reflection that a real human might do to be actually quite open and honest about what their strengths and areas for improvement are. You know, employers recognize that people have their strengths and weaknesses. That doesn't need to be a bad thing. But also what's important to them is that people can recognize where they might not be as strong, so that they're able to work in a team well, so that they're able to take critical feedback. And when everything is generated by AI, it doesn't really give us that information that we need when we're recruiting. The other really big problem is the huge amount of applications that are coming through for every job. And that is mainly because by using AI to write the job applications for you, you're able to quickly apply for many more jobs. And actually, there are systems, AI systems, that will apply for jobs on your behalf while you sleep. So, you know, the sheer volume of applications that our employers are receiving that aren't really telling them very much, that all look the same, that individuals might not even have selected to apply for that job because they've just got a machine applying for all jobs for them. They haven't even got that awareness. So people don't end up really standing out in the job market. Employers haven't really got a good sense of what is real, what a person is really like. And they're really overwhelmed by the number of applications that they're getting. So it's ironic perhaps that employers are having to turn to artificial intelligence to help them manage the amount of applications they're getting because of the increased use of artificial intelligence. And that in turn can create some problems, which I'll touch on. Now, it's been a tricky topic to navigate with students because in other parts of university work, we're really having to work with students to make sure they understand when not to use AI and how not to use it when writing assignments and etc. So again, it's been a big topic and still is of conversation at the university. In careers and employment, the department that I lead, we've taken a view that students and graduates are going to use AI anyway. Whether we tell them to do it or not, they are using it, and employers are telling us that they're using it. So it has been a bit controversial sometimes at the university, but we decided that we would, instead of pretending it doesn't exist, instead of just telling them don't do it, that we were going to teach students how to use AI responsibly when searching for jobs. And I'll just expand a little bit about how we do that. So a big part of recruitment now in the UK are application tracking systems, or ATS. I don't know how much they might be used in Vietnam, but really it's just software that employers use to manage job applications. And they can use it in different ways. In university settings in the UK, it's usually just used to manage the process of applying for a job. So managing the application forms, CVs, if they're included, information about applicants, and also to manage the shortlisting and interview process. But in other sectors of employment, especially where there's a lot of applications coming through, so literally it could be tens of thousands of applications for 100 roles or less. That's what some employers are facing. So they're starting to have to use AI within an application tracking system to help them narrow down or shortlist the number of applications that they look at. So that could be that your CV, if you applied for a job, is put through a scanner. So the application tracking system literally scans your CV or your application form, and it's just a machine looking for keywords. It's looking to see if what you've written matches the job description or the personal specification part of the job description. So it's literally looking, does your application match the job that we're looking for? But it's a machine, so it is doing it in a way that's just looking for key bits of language. So we actually work with the students now to be really open and transparent about what these machines and what the technology does. So we also have in the careers department technology that students can use before they apply for a job that allows them to upload their CV, and it is scanned as if it were an ATS, and gives them automatic and instant feedback about whether their CV or their job application is going to be a good match when they put it through an employer's application tracking system. So what we're teaching them there is to really carefully look at the job description. Look, what are the key words? What are the key skills that the employers are looking for? And make sure you write about them in your CV or your covering letter or your job application. Because if you haven't included those keywords, your application might never get in front of a real person. The machine, the ATS, might exclude you before you even get to that point. So we're literally teaching them about what the AI does and how to work around it or work with it so that they don't get excluded. So we're trying to make the process more transparent, actually. But, there's other tips that we can give students about, not over formatting their CV. So in some cultures and in some sectors or industries, it can be usual to either have a very creative, nicely designed CV that looks very lovely. It may include a photograph as well. But actually, ATS systems don't cope very well with overly formatted CVs. So again, we're teaching students and graduates how to format their application so that an ATS system will still include them, or is more likely to include them to a later round of shortlisting. Other ways that we teach students to use AI responsibly, they can use it for research and preparation. That's okay. And we talk to them about how they might do that, about the pros and cons of using it for drafting and tailoring a CV or an application, but not just letting it generate all of the content for them. That tells an employer nothing about themselves. So we're really trying to make sure they have this balance between it just being a draft and getting ideas, but also their own personal characteristics, personality, shining through in this application, because that's what the employers really want to know, the real person. Some people do use it for editing and proofreading. It can be great for accessibility in this way. If a student is dyslexic, for example, then AI can be really helpful to make sure that it's spotting spelling errors or typos. And it can be a way of quickly comparing, if you share your CV or application and the job description, the AI tool can quickly tell you if you've missed any key skills or any keywords. So it's all very much about recognizing AI as a thing, but we also tell students about the feedback we get from employers. They don't want to just see the same thing churned out again and again. However, it is something that students and graduates need to navigate to try and get in front of employers in the first place. So very, very complex. Things are changing very quickly. The AI is getting better every day, which means it's harder to spot, but it also means from an employer perspective, it's harder for them to narrow down and find the right candidate. And actually, a lot of employers in the UK are having to move back to more face-to-face recruitment practices, especially at the later stages of recruitment, because they're finding that some applicants on paper seem to be a certain type of person, but then when they meet them, they don't use the same language as they have in their CV. Their personality could be quite different from what they've suggested in their application. So it's quite resource intensive for employers at the moment to have to do a lot more face-to-face recruitment to navigate all of this. So it's changing all of the time, but hopefully that gives you an idea of what we're having to try and navigate at the moment. And yeah, my final slide was just again to invite you to think about or to share with us how is artificial intelligence currently viewed and used in recruitment in Vietnam, and how do you think this might change over time? So again, I'll pause there either for you to think, or please do share with us in the chat or by raising your hand if you'd like to.
Thanks, Anna. I constantly, when we talk about artificial intelligence, I feel at the same time excited by the potential and scared about what it's going to do to my knowledge base. We don't have any specific questions, although Nhung, I might ask you, I know that you've had a recent workshop with some people thinking about AI more generally in terms of its career, in terms of understanding the use of it in your job. Have you any thoughts on one of these questions? Is there anything there that you would like to offer by way of feedback to the group?
Yes, but for that holiday, we hold one workshop relating to how to use AI to build an application without any knowledge about coding. And in this workshop, the participants know about GitHub. And GitHub is very important because it's like a database that you can download or upload anything you create or other people create for you to use. And one important thing here is in this decade, we have to own the AI mindset. Yeah, I'm very sad to talk so, but the lecturer said that the mindset of AI is very, very important. And as you can see that in the presentation of Dr. Anna, nowadays all the company use AI for screening your CV. So that reason why you have to use and you have to have the AI first mindset. Yes, it's very, very important. Yes.
Thanks, Nhung. I think it's really clear, isn't it? And I think, Anna, the key bit for me that stuck with me about what you said was about transparency. We use that word a lot when we're thinking about, particularly talking to our staff and our students about AI, about being really clear about what it can do, what it can't do, the way in which it will be used or could be used, or that you can use it. That seems to be the thing that is at the heart of it all, doesn't it? When anything new and significantly transformative to practice comes along like that, that really does seem to be the thing that could make it a success, being transparent about things as they go along. Anna, thank you very much. I was going to say you can have a rest, but you need to drive now, don't you, with the continuing with the slides. So thank you for that. We're going to just spend not very long, a few minutes, talking about academic career pathways in the UK and a little bit about those internationally. And there is a bit of detail in some of these slides that we hope will be useful to you to refer back to afterwards, but just wanted to give you a little bit of context. In the UK, you'll hear about academic jobs and the work that academics do being related to three main areas of work: learning and teaching, research, and perhaps commercial or industrial work. In England, we have excellence frameworks and recognition for each of these areas of works in university. And these are public awards that people can use to make a judgment about the quality of an institution. So institutions care very much about their performance in things like the Teaching Excellence Framework, which was last run in 2023, the Research Excellence Framework, which is scheduled to run again in 2029, and the Knowledge Exchange Framework, which is a smaller activity which not all universities take part in, but for example is very important to our university here at Hertfordshire, and I'll explain why in just a moment. The other thing that shapes perhaps what an academic career pathway would be is the type of university that you work for. So Anna, if you could move us on. Something that I think is strange to people from outside of the UK is that groups of universities come together with shared goals, priorities, and characteristics. They're known as mission groups, which I think is a terrible expression to be able to translate, but it means that they are united in their mission or their hopes for their organisation. They act as a collective voice, often lobbying and representing the interest to government, trying to influence policies, to influence big research funders and organisations, and to shape educational strategies on a national scale. They contribute to the reputation of the university, and membership of a mission group can become an important part of your reputation, and it can signal what is valued to a university that is in that mission group. And therefore, it might make a difference to how you are perceived or how you're seen as an academic and how you might describe yourself and your academic work in each of those institutions. These are the logos of the 5 main mission groups that we have in the UK at the moment. Most people globally have only ever heard of the Russell Group, and that's because it's the research-intensive universities, and it's where you'd find places like Oxford and Cambridge University. They have a very strong, unashamed commitment to being a research-first institution. Therefore, if that's somewhere that if you aspire to work at a university that's a Russell Group university, your research profile will be incredibly important to securing a job there and your progression whilst you're at those universities. The next logo along is known as the Million Plus University Group. These are often universities who place a really strong emphasis on serving local populations and being open and accessible. They're often very regionally focused as well. So, for example, I've tried to pick places that you may have heard of. So the University of Cumbria, a lot of people have heard of the Lake District in the UK, a very beautiful, a very rural area, and that has a very particular need in terms of meeting an educational demand that is quite different to other parts of the country. I'll come back to the one in the middle in a moment. Then there's the Cathedral Group of universities, which are all universities that have their foundations in the church. It's quite unusual for religious institutions in the UK to be actively involved in running universities, but certainly to have foundations and to have started as theology colleges or teacher training colleges. This is a small group of 14 universities, but they're often easy to spot because they're in towns with cathedrals in their location. And then Guild HE, the logo at the far right, is a group of smaller specialist institutions, people, for example, who focus on arts or creativity or very specific remits. So you may have, for example, heard of the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts, RADA, a very famous drama school here in the UK, but also very specialist institutions like the University of Law and newer institutions that started as a private enterprise but have started to offer public education, like the Dyson Institute of Engineering from the famous engineering company. I paused for University Alliance. That's the university mission group that Hertfordshire belongs to. So, of course, it is the best one. It is one that believes strongly in the partnership between the university and business and industry. So that really shapes the mission of all of those universities that sit in the University Alliance Group. And Anna will be part of the Alliance Group's careers network, and Helen and I belong to the learning and teaching networks that they run. They're a really important part of supporting our development. And for those of you who have followed the MOOC, you will have seen a colleague from another University Alliance organisation, from Anglia Ruskin University, our colleague Alex, talking about his approach to equity in leadership at his organisation. So each of these universities will privilege a different type of experience. So if you want to work for a specialist institution, your disciplinary knowledge is going to be really important. If you're going to work at RADA as an acting school, having credibility as someone who has had that as a profession is very important. If you work at the University Alliance University, your commitment to teaching, but also to business and the professions is very important and would be privileged amongst other things. But they do all have something in common, and that's recognition beyond academic qualifications. So if we could just move on, Anna. I wanted to share a reference point with you from an organisation called Advance HE. It's a member-led charity with a goal to improve higher education. They very much focused on teaching and learning, but also governance of organisations, and they have a really strong commitment to equality, diversity and inclusion. They have lots of resources available on their website, and they have done some very specific work in Vietnam with the Vietnam German University and the Vietnam Open University, and you can read about their projects on their website. But importantly, they do something called fellowship. And that's, you heard me at the beginning introduce Anna as a senior fellow of the Higher Education Academy. Helen and I are principal fellows of the Higher Education Academy. And this is recognition against something called the Professional Standards Framework. And this is something that is increasingly asked for in an academic job in universities here in the UK, but also global recognition as well. There are over 200,000 people globally who hold fellowship recognition. There are about 20,000 new fellows being added to that membership a year, nearly 3,000 of whom are outside of the UK. So that might be something that would be of interest to people if you're wanting to know a little bit more about that. You can connect with us on LinkedIn and ask. Just to show you the last couple of slides, which I think are probably better used as a reference point, because I would like to leave plenty of time for Trang to share her story, is some guidance when thinking about looking for and applying for academic jobs. And I think our top tip here is do not make assumptions that institutions, jobs and processes are the same as in your own country and context. Even here in the UK, if I were to apply for a job at Russell Group University, I have to assume that that's a very different institution to the one that I work at, and I would have to do my research about what was important to them. So we recognise that different countries recognise different forms of achievements, and that it's really important to research everything when you're preparing your application. Anna's already talked about the value of connecting with people, and that can really help you make that progress. What is, I think, a difference that we noticed when we came to Vietnam is that here in the UK and certainly in North America, you are much more expected to sell yourself in the recruitment process. So it's really important that you are not modest in an application, that you are clear about the outcomes and impacts of your work, any performance data, that you can explain your context and the scale and the role that you've had. In the UK and North America, it isn't enough just to say, these are the jobs I've had and these are the organisations that I've worked for. And certainly local equality and diversity laws can forbid the inclusion of some things which can be more common in global CVs around, for example, information about your family. Anna talked about CVs earlier with photographs on them and personal characteristic information. Certainly, it's really common in universities in the UK to exclude all of that identifiable information in that first step of recruitment. What is an interesting contrast in North America is it's really common there, but not here, to include a statement of your teaching philosophy if you're looking for an academic job. And my team here at Hertfordshire have just agreed to challenge ourselves to each write one for our own practice, because it's something that we ask our students to do on our teaching qualification. So watch out on LinkedIn, because maybe that'll be something that I'll share subsequently. And then the final piece of information here that we hope you'll take some time to come back to and take a look again is just some advice really about making written applications versus preparing for an interview. So in that written application, Anna talked a lot about the technology that is used to capture information that you make in an application now. But in an academic job, it might be a little bit different. You might be expected to include a resume or CV, as all of our students would for a job, but particularly also to include your publications or your project history, including a cover letter including some more information. So it might be about speaking about your research grants or the things that you've done in your career that you're most proud of. What isn't typical in an application stage here in the UK and in North America is to provide evidence or copies of your qualifications. They'll only seek that out later on if you're offered a position. And you heard Anna mention earlier the use of the expression person specification. And I think from talking to Nhung, that's a concept that is familiar in Vietnam. And it's really important that you're matching the person specification when you're making an application, not simply telling the company or university what you've done in your previous job. When you're thinking about preparing for an interview experience for an academic job, it's really common to be asked to do a presentation as part of that. It might be about presenting a piece of your research, or as though you were teaching a group of students because they want to test your skills and your knowledge in that area. Interviews in the UK particularly are normally panel interviews with 3 or 4, sometimes more people. It's unusual to be interviewed by an individual person. But the first question that you're likely to be asked in any of those interviews is why you would like that job or why you want to work at that institution. And we've had feedback previously from colleagues who've come to work in the UK from overseas that this was really unexpected. So it's something that we wanted to share with you that is super common. Questions that follow are likely to be either behavioural or scenario-based. So behavioural questions asking you to tell them about a time in which you behaved in a particular way so that you can draw on your history and your experience, or a scenario-based question of how you may behave or do a job in the future. The key is to be structured and specific in your answers and really listen and answer the question rather than just share what you think you might want to say. It's really common for people to need to manage time in an interview. And it's really good practice to be concise, but to say, I can tell you some more if you'd like, but perhaps you'd like to move on. And another, I think, cultural thing that catches people out is that you will nearly always be asked at the end of an interview if you have any questions of your own. Please don't say no. It's really important that you come in with some questions to ask. And again, I've written on my list of things to do, Anna, of thinking about what kind of questions would you ask if you were going for an academic leadership role at the end of an interview. I think that might be something interesting for me to share on LinkedIn. So we're encouraging you to have some individual reflections after the session today and some more technical points in this as well. If you are thinking about having a global career, do think carefully about visa requirements for the countries that you might be interested in working in. It's really critical that you understand a potential institution that you work for, what their leave policy is like, how much vacation you get, whether you can have research leave, how your family fits in with that to see if it matches your expectations, as well as day-to-day things like working patterns. Making a financial transition would be a big step, particularly if you're moving overseas. It's really hard to compare salaries and living costs, particularly if you need to maintain 2 homes for a while. But the overarching question should always be, is this opportunity right for my longer term career goals? And that's something we want to kind of leave you with. But speaking of longer term careers, we would very much love, Trang, for you to take the floor for the final part of our section today and share a little about your own career story. So please, the time that we have left is all yours.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Sarah. Thank you, Professor Anna, for sharing your experience, especially how you leverage technology and AI to promote your professional development, your career development as well. Thus, I would like to share my screen. You see my screen?
Yes, we can see everything beautifully. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry because I'm sitting in the lobby before the convention center, so that now they are nearly removed the chair and table. So that's why I hope that they give me enough time to sit here to share with you. Yes, first of all, I would like to thank you, British Council, for funding this project. And I would like also thank you, Professor Anna and Professor Helen, and Dr. Nhung as well for implement the project, addressing women's underrepresentation in leadership, and also on Vietnamese partner, the HUTECH Đông Á and Thap Community College give me this opportunity to share with a community of leaders, faculty members, administrators. Today I will share about the career development in a global and AI-driven world. I'm currently Vice President of Ho Chi Minh City University of Technology, HUTECH, and also Director of International Accreditation and Quality Assurance at Ho Chi Minh City University of Economics and Finance, both university in the same system. Now that I would like to share some bonds, I will introduction and personal background as a little bit sharing about my background. And then some from brush to consistent I would like to share because I did not have the perfect plan at my early career, and then the professional journey transformation, as well as why the career development matters. And just based on my experience, I can share with you some of the key challenges for young professionals and global competencies for career succeed, as well as leverage LinkedIn to promote professional development, as well as professional career development as well. And I myself during my career, I also build international network by leverage online technology and LinkedIn as well. And understand AI. I think the professors Anna and Sarah share so many things about AI in recruitment, so that's why I don't talk about that much. Yeah. And especially as women in leadership, we can do something just to overcome some challenges and overcome self-doubt, as well as we can develop some strategy, resilient at leadership skill, or finally, I would like to share 3 key messages for leaders, managers, as well as administrators. And last but not least, I would love to call to action. A little bit about my background, educational background. As you can see that I started with Bachelor of Art in German language. That's very strange, yeah. I can, but so that's for I think that's more than nearly 30 years ago. And then as I continue with Bachelor of Art in English language. And then during my working time, I continued, Bachelor of English language, and then Master in TESOL, and then Master in Business Administration and PhD. Yeah, you can see that I didn't start my career in a perfect plan, but during my working time, I try to update myself in different way to promote my career development by update myself with so many things to meet the requirement of the increasing need from my work. You know that in the past, I used to dream to have opportunity to study abroad, but I didn't have this opportunity. So that it was my dream. But after that, I think that I have all the opportunities to update myself through a variety of short courses overseas in many countries, 24 courses overseas related to many different things in education, outcome-based, quality assurance, management of internationalization, leadership management, etc. In European countries, in the US and other countries as well. That's 24 courses overseas. And I had a very good opportunity to explore myself, to work with university in other countries and to visit so many countries in the world to learn the best practice from them. So that's why I made more than 100 visits in 20 countries. And now I'm sitting in Hong Kong. I just completed 4 internship days of Arbeit as Asia Pacific Association for International Education in Hong Kong, and I've just finished 70 meetings with 70 universities in the world, not just only Asian and Pacific and beyond as well. and some from UK, and also that's from other countries, Germany, France, and other countries as well. I would just want to say I didn't start my career in a perfect plan, but I try step by step, continue studying while working full time. Of course, so many moments I feel very exotic. Yeah, so that's because there's a lot of things at the same time, not just the work, also there's the development, my knowledge, my skill, and so many moments I feel there's self-doubting. And some moment I always ask myself, can I really do this? Yeah, you can see that but I learned one important lesson. Progress is not about the speed. It's about consistent. So that's why I try day by day, small thing from the beginning. Yeah, but with the consistent way. About my professional journey transformation, there's the initial career. I have limited experience. I feel in the comfort zone. That's every day the same thing. Just do the same routine job. But after that, I realized I need to update myself. Lifelong learning very important. Continuous learning. I adapted and also growing in evolving landscape. And I explore myself in various international exposure, a lot of international activity in order to broaden my perspective and to learn from the other professionals in the community, not just national, but also international, to enrich my experience. I learned their best practice in order to apply for my current work. And thus, of course, I also face so many challenges, but I try to push beyond comfort zone to achieve goals. That's in order to achieve the goal that and broaden my perspective. I try my best day after day. That's why career development matters today. As you can see that nowadays with the advanced technology, digital transformation, natural disaster, disease, so many things happen. And the increasing requirement, increasing demand need from industry, so many jobs that will be disappear. Immersion job will happen, immersion roles, so that new opportunity are appearing too. And we need lifelong learning, lifelong employability. We should develop skill for continuous work, as well as we need to build confidence as women. We need to believe in ourselves. And we need to show visibility. We need to be visible. Women, we need to be seen and heard. Very important. Sometimes there's so many women, they very capable, but they are afraid to show themselves in the community. As a young generation, so many people, they also face some challenges, but I just pick up some only. For example, they have limited exposure. So that's if they limited exposure, that's they will they may miss some opportunity for role, or they fear of failures. They hesitate to take risks. Or some that they also have low confidence. They feel doubted about their ability, their potential, or they may lack of direction. That they are not sure about their career direction, career path. And in order to help career succeed, that's based on my experience. Through my career development, I just pick up some competencies because there's so many, but I just pick some that's very important. For example, critical thinking. In my case, that's in the past, even in the last room, I didn't dare to share. I didn't dare to talk. I feel very worried about when I wanted to express something. I feel that's like many people look at me and evaluate me. So that's I worry. I didn't want to say anything. I keep so quiet in the last room. I didn't express my opinion. I didn't say anything. Didn't have critical thinking and communication skill. I think also very important. But after that, I practiced to communicate in at the beginning in a very low community, and then in the broader community that I try day after day. Yeah. And in the advanced technology, digital, especially AI, I think that digital literacy very important. Proficiency in using digital tools and technology. I'm not good at that thing. I learn day by day. I update myself, especially with AI and other technology tools. I need to learn. And cross-cultural awareness very important in my opinion, because we should understand and respect diverse cultural perspective, and as well as the leadership potential, ability to inspire, to guide others towards a common goal, to coordinate all the people, yes, to work on the same thing, the same project, or the same, to achieve the same, the common goal, yeah, something like that. I think that through my career development, I found is very important. In order to, you see that I myself, I also used LinkedIn for my career development. I think that's Professor Sarah and Professor Helen, that's both of you know already that 3 years ago, I didn't know how to use LinkedIn. But because of the international connection, professional development, I started using LinkedIn 3 years ago, and I leveraged LinkedIn to connect with international professionals. And I think I see it's very, very important that to connect with people, to learn from the others in the professional community, professional settings. For example, that's the highlight my some of achievement. I feel proud of that, and I can show with the community, with friends, with colleges in LinkedIn, or education experience. It's okay, academic background, building connection with profession, especially the international ones, or opportunity beyond the local market. I also that's the thing very important, because that LinkedIn is no longer just an online CV. It's our professional identity. That so that I encourage you, if you don't have LinkedIn, you should think about that to create an account on LinkedIn. Yeah, I leverage LinkedIn to build international network and to use other channel. For example, there's you can see that I use mentorship. There's some people that I join the mentorship program that learn from the guidance, from the support, from experienced profession. That's even now that I still learn, I still update myself. Even as I'm vice president, I think that I need to learn more in order to perform my current position well. Professional and exchange program very important. You can see that for the conference here in Hong Kong, I meet so many people. I learn from them. I can do the international benchmarking and also networking and connect with so many people in academia and learn from them. Yeah, as well as I just want to share that's one thing that's for the continuous lifelong learning. Yesterday, I'm happy just I have been shortlisted. I received very good news from the program Manaki from government New Zealand that I have been shortlisted for the short course online ones in terms of good governance for top leaders and middle manager. This is very competitive for 11 countries. And before that, I also got some scholarship from DAAD, some for short courses in Germany and in other countries, and also the short courses from Australian government. That what I try to update myself. Yeah, and webinar, there's the online section. I also try to learn new things, update new policy in education through many online section, as well as conference. Now that's for the conference here in Hong Kong as well. And around a year, I attended several conference, international conference in different countries, and yeah, I learned from that. And also, I had opportunity to be the speaker because I believe networking is about building trust, not asking for favors. Understand AI in recruitment. I think that Professor Anna and Sarah does share so many things. I don't want to repeat this thing again, but I encourage you to explore LinkedIn. That's very helpful, I think, for your professionals. Women in leadership, that's the program that we focus on gender equality. From my experience, many women are highly capable but hesitate to step forward. They often think I'm not ready yet. But men usually apply when they meet only part of the requirement. So my message is, do not wait for perfection. Prepare yourself and be brave. So we should overcome self-doubt and fear, because having few self-doubt is normal, but I always experienced it many times in my career. What helped me was continuous learning, strong support network, and self-reflection for everything that I sit down and relax. Because based on that, I can see what I have done good and what need to be improved. Confidence grow from competence and experience. So I'm sorry, a little bit noise because they remove the room here. So that's in order to overcome self-doubt and have confidence. I think that we should have some strategy, practical strategy. One, we should have the personal development lens. I recommend that you create a personal development lens. You can see that I started. I didn't have a good personal development plan in the past. And when you decide personal development plan, you ask yourself where I am now and where do I want to be in 5 years, and what skill do I need. Until now, I also need to improve my knowledge and skill as well. Then set small, achievable goals. Career development is a long journey, not a race. And strategy 2, building your profile. Professional profile should include strong CV, LinkedIn, or certificates, experience. Make sure your profile tells a real story. Story tells very important. Especially for women, we can apply storytelling about your strength, about your values, what you contribute to the community of professional, internal community in your organization, or external community with related stakeholders, something like that. You can tell the story along the way of your career development. And the strategy 2, learning from the failure, I would like is very important. Failures is part of the succeed. Every challenge I face taught me important lesson. Reflect on experience, learn from mistakes, and grow from challenges. Resilience is the key leadership skill. And 3 key measures I would like you to pay attention: that continuous self-investment, commitment to ongoing self-improvement, to build a strong foundation for succeed, a global thinking, global action. balancing awareness of the world with meaningful community impact. Every single thing you do, you think about the community, even the small community in your organization or the broader community outside. Yeah, confidence through competence, gaining skill, knowledge to enhance ability and self-assurance. And last but not least, I would love to call you to take action. In the next month, you sit down and try something new if you haven't done before. For example, you apply for international opportunity, seek global experience, or broaden your horizons. You update LinkedIn profile if you have one, or if you don't have, you should create an account on LinkedIn. Yeah, very, very, very helpful, very important for your career development. And find a mentor. For example, that's in terms of the project, we have so many things. That's mentoring section. That's with Professor Anna, Professor Helen, yeah, and all the other professor from Hertfordshire. Also, they are the good mentor for career development as well, in terms of teaching, in terms of research, or enroll in the new course. Yeah, very important. Even the online courses also very helpful. Expand your knowledge and learn new skill. That's all about my presentation. Thank you very much. I'm so sorry because I'm sitting just outside, a little bit noisy here, because all of them they left and they removed the room already. So sorry if some noisy. Thank you.
Not
Thank you
at
very
all.
much. Yeah.
It's been so splendid to listen to you talk about your journey. And I wish you could see the desk here. Between Helen and I, we keep writing down things that you say, and they're going to really stay with us. I love the do not wait for perfection, prepare yourself and be brave. That is absolutely splendid. So we're definitely going to use that a lot. I think it's been so inspiring to listen to you. And what a great way to finish our session thinking about career development. Thank you, a huge thank you, Anna, for your input and contribution, and to Dr. Chang for your input and contribution and sharing your story. It has been really useful. And thank you also to the conversations that we had, Nhung, with yourself and Angie beforehand, so that we could expand our understanding of what the work market and employment is like in Vietnam. That's been really helpful. That brings us to the end of our session. We have one more of these workshops to run, which will be with myself and with Helen in 1 month's time. And we are really looking forward to seeing some of the regular names and faces that have been to many of these workshops. We would really like to think about evaluating some of that learning that's been going on, and maybe we'll revisit some of those call to actions that Dr. Chang's given us there to make sure that people are stepping forward with hope into this leadership journey. We appreciate that it's later on in the day for you over there in Vietnam and in Hong Kong as well. So have a pleasant evening, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.